Minnesota Vikings fans who are listening to the Purple People podcast. My name is Kyle West. I am accompanied by... Can Adam hear me?
I did not hear you there. It sounds like you just cut out on me, which is kind of weird.
Oh, you know what
So I'm
happens.
hoping that's not me, but I'm here. I'm here to talk some football, and my head looks massive on the screen today.
Ego. Your ego, sir, is showing.
We got Kyle Smith here, too. I'm sure he wants to say hello.
Hi, guys. My camera works this week. We're all here.
All right. So this is episode number 248, according to my notes, which I never checked, so it might not be accurate. I don't know.
I think it's 248.
If it isn't, we'll just have the people in the chat tell us again, because they keep track. They do.
It's either 248 or 249 or 247.
Somewhere in that ballpark. I don't know.
You know.
We're allowed to lose track, right?
Absolutely.
This one's titled Mock Madness. We're going to be talking about a lot of the mock drafts going around with the Vikings' second-round pick, because the Vikings don't have a first-round pick, and we still want to talk about the draft.
Yeah, boy. I'm excited for the draft. Finally get here.
I'm still not feeling draft-like. Maybe it's because I haven't been doing my research like usual, but it's just, I don't know, I'm not feeling it.
You know why you're not feeling it? Because we finally have the quarterback situation, knock on wood, wherever I can find some. We have that down, and we don't have a first-round pick, so it's like, I truthfully don't care. Obviously, I want them to draft somebody awesome, but it's like I can't get amped for the first day. I told Kyle before we started recording, I'm going to watch the draft next week just to watch other teams pick absolutely stupid players and decisions. That's
Cleveland.
what I watch. Yeah.
Waiting for that second-round kicker to come through?
Yeah.
We're all watching for Cleveland.
Oh, Tampa. Tampa's just as bad as Cleveland lately.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about the biggest quick hit coming up. Tomorrow, if you're listening to this on the 19th, the schedules will be released for the 2017 season. At first, it was leaked by the GM of the Detroit Lions that this was going to be the date they were going to be released, but I was hesitant since it wasn't confirmed by anyone, and let's be honest, the Lions have done their fair share of messing up over their franchise. So, but the NFL.com has confirmed that the schedules will be released tomorrow. They're going to be doing the schedule release shows on both ESPN and NFL Network, drawing it all out. But of course, as soon as I believe it's 8 o'clock Eastern or 7 o'clock Central, I think that's the time, right?
Yeah, correct.
But as soon as that hits, usually a schedule comes out anyway, a visualization of it anyway. And all that information will be out there. I'll have it out there in the Viking Age as soon as I can. But it'll be interesting to see because the Vikings haven't had a whole lot of home openers in the last couple seasons. I believe in the last 10 seasons, they've opened at home twice.
Yikes.
You know what that means tomorrow? Tomorrow it comes out on Thursday, so Friday you'll get a video of Paul Allen saying, I can't find a loss on this.
Oh, God.
I love that.
Watch out for Vikings.com Friday when Paul Allen does his hot take that we're going undefeated again.
I love Paul Allen.
I love him too, man.
He's such a homer. We talk about that all the time. But you gotta love Paul Allen. It's his job to be like that enthusiastic all of the time.
Let's make our way up through these quick hits backwards. So now we have Hard Knocks, where it looks like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers will be the team that will be featured on the show. Now, I'll be honest, I have never watched a season of Hard Knocks. I've never watched one. I've seen some highlights of the Cincinnati one. I've gone back and looked at some of the Zimmer stuff, and it's a lot of fun. But Vikings fans will have something fun to watch as cornerback Josh Robinson is there in the franchise, and he's a guy that's been pretty talkative about his stances politically and everything in the past, and he is a very competitive guy, so he could be fun to watch as well. Of course, the focus is going to be on Brent Grimes and his wife.
Yep, and good old crab legs. Can't wait to see him talk about some stuff. Just listening to Jameis Winston enunciate words is a lot of fun. I love that guy. He's a hell of a quarterback, but, man, I love listening to his interviews because I'm like, I wonder if that's actually a word.
Oh, man.
I'm picking on everybody today. I'm in a mood. Sorry. I want to say for that quick hit, it's kind of cool because Josh Robinson played here before, as you mentioned. I think it's funny how certain players attach themselves to coaches because he followed Leslie Frazier around, I believe Leslie's still down there, right?
I don't believe he is. No.
Huh. Well, maybe
he lasted him.
Buffalo? He's in Buffalo, right?
Oh,
I think in Buffalo, yeah.
Maybe he just stopped and loved the Motel 6 in Tampa so much. I don't know.
He was there for a short time when Lovie Smith was the coach.
That's right.
Let's see here. 3 reasons why Leslie Frazier is the perfect fit for the Buffalo Bills defense. So, yes, he is the Buffalo Bills defensive coordinator.
All right.
Gotta love me some Tampa, too. Not really. Good luck with that.
Moving along here, the Minnesota Vikings have started phase 1 of the offseason workout program. Of course, this is a voluntary time for players to come together, winter park, lift weights, do some training, work with the strength and conditioning trainers. No coaches, pads, offense, defense stuff allowed, but it's a good chance for the players to start getting together, getting in football shape. It's a good step towards seeing football on the field again. I'm kind of that's kind of got me a little pumped up right there.
I don't know if you guys have seen the video, but I saw it on Instagram on some page that I follow, some Vikings page. But it was Rudy, Sam Bradford, another receiver, I can't remember. Just some of the guys just walking from their car. Sam Bradford looks 12 years old again because he shaved his beard. So
oh no,
I was like, oh sweet. Mm-hmm. But yeah, like Adam said, it hyped me up because like,
it's
oh
fun.
God, okay, football's still forever away, but it's less than it was yesterday. You know.
A little bit. It's fun when you can see the players around the facilities and doing stuff, even if it is just lifting weights and working out and whatnot, because it's cool. They're our team and we love them. And you're right. It's just a little bit closer to football, like a little bit actual news.
Oh, yeah. Always good stuff to see that happening.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys mind if I steal this one? Because I'm really excited about this next one.
Oh, yeah. Have at her.
Rumors. Xavier Rhodes closed. Will likely receive a contract extension within the next few months. This should, emphasis on the should, make him the highest paid player at his position. Could be worth towards $65 million. I'm excited for the guy. And you know what else I'm excited about? I'm excited that we're not going to possibly lose him. I love this guy. He had
there's no way.
Yeah, I don't think that's a question.
Yeah,
I think he solidified himself within the top 5 corners. We have other talented defensive backs, but I'm really, really excited, and I'm really happy for him because Xavier is like the protege first-round pick. He comes in, he's got things to work on, but you see the talent, and each year I think he's progressively climbed the ladder to get himself where he's at now. Now he's one of the best, if not the best, corner in the league.
Mm-hmm. We've worked our way through and back to the era where cornerbacks are one of the top paid players again. A lot of people really scoffed when the Detroit Lions gave a massive contract to Darius Slay. People were like, oh, we have no idea who that guy is. You know, you'd have the people on there, who? And Xavier Rhodes is going to get that kind of treatment because he's in a small market, Minnesota Vikings. You know, they don't get a whole lot of attention. But people who watch Xavier Rhodes and have followed him know just what he's capable of. And locking him down is the Vikings' top priority, and you could see it from how they handled free agency. They went in, and yeah, they slapped a lot of money down to get those offensive tackles signed, but they haven't done a whole lot much else. They've been saving a lot of salary cap, and you have to believe that that is for locking down the long-term players like Xavier Rhodes.
I surely hope so.
You have to. He's one of the top guys on this team. If Harrison Smith is, like I said, is maybe the most talented player on the team, Xavier Rhodes is like they're almost tied for that, for being like
1A and 1B, huh?
Yeah, 1A and 1B out there on this team for sure. I love the way Xavier's progressed, and you got to attribute a lot of that to not only his hard work, but to Mike Zimmer. I think really pushed him over the top and got him to that next level. You can see the videos. I've watched him in training camp of where just pull him aside as they're working, and he'll just be coaching him up on the sidelines and not afraid to, you know, grab a hold of him and yell at him and like make him a better player. And so it's been a lot of fun to watch his progression with this team.
We have Eric Grendel in the chat who heard us that we had a show going on right now. So he pulled over into this shop there and got himself some chicken wings, and he's enjoying some chicken wings and listening to the show. So thanks, Eric. It's good to have you here with us.
You know what?
That makes give
Eric a shout out from El Paso, Texas, too. If you like the show that much that you have to pull over and get chicken wings and listen to the show, that says a lot. Thank you very, very much, Eric.
Always great to see that.
Can we get some chicken wings? Like, what do we got to do to get chicken wings sent our way? Can we do like a GoFundMe?
Do they have chicken wings in Iowa, or do they just have like cow wings?
Like Buffalo Wild Wings and shit.
Corn wings? Is that what they got there?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
Just ripping on Iowa now. Poor Iowa.
It's kind of sucks here, so I'm okay with it.
Moving on up the list, we have Mike Zimmer undergoing the first of 2 operations on Monday on his right eye. Doctors will remove an oil bubble that's been on there and replace it with an oxygen bubble to help the detached retinal heal properly.
Oil bubble on your eye is not a thing that I ever want to have happen, or a detached retina. He's badass for working through this for the duration of the season last year and still dealing with it. I hope they're able to, whatever this surgery and the next surgery, can they please just get this figured for him?
You know what I think it is, and this is just me totally on pure speculation. I haven't looked this up. But when you have something like an eye, you have to let it heal before you can go back and mess with it again. So it's just been a progressive surgery and heal. Now that this part of the surgery is done, or this phase of the healing process is done, now you can do it again. But let's be real. Do you really think Mike Zimmer's going to let something like this hold him back? He's such a badass, man. Like, just
he'll scoop that eye out and keep on coaching with an eye patch if he has to.
I can see Mike Zimmer going completely 300 on us and be like, God's so fit to give me a spare.
I still think that if he had been told that there was a chance he could fly without his eye popping after that surgery,
he'd have done it.
He'd have done it. He'd have been there.
He'd have done it. No doubt. No doubt.
I could hear him saying some crazy stuff too, like, "Can't they just get me an Uber out to Jacksonville?" Or what was it, the Dallas game?
It was Jacksonville.
Oh my gosh! All right, I'm done talking about Mike Zimmer's eye and being weird about it, but he's such a badass. I love this guy.
Do you remember the movie Last Action Hero? Remember the villain? Remember the villain had the glass eye? Mike Zimmer could have a glass eye with a Vikings logo on it if need be.
Oh wow. I hope that's not the case. Hopefully this can all get taken care of and he can be back to 100% vision here as soon as possible, but fingers are crossed for him. Finally, we got some Jerick McKinnon news. He is still training with former Vikings running back Adrian Peterson, which we're saying former, but Peterson hasn't really latched on anywhere yet. Still, McKinnon has said several times that he looks up to Peterson in a big way for what he does on the field, so this isn't really a surprise. And of course, McKinnon, if the Vikings don't draft a big name player early in the draft, he could be seeing a really cool split with Latavius Murray. So could be fun to see.
And Peterson's a workout warrior. He's always been. You can say a lot about him, but you can never question his ability to work out. So anyone who wants to work out,
yes, practice no.
Practice no, but workout warrior totally for sure. That's Adrian. So like I'm glad to see that Jerick is still.
We're just ripping on everybody this episode. Which is a lot of fun. So that is pretty much all we have for the quick hits this week. For our main topic, we were supposed to ask you guys who the Vikings' second round pick should be in the draft, but
we still are.
I think we kind of forgot.
We did. I'll take the hit on that. I apologize, guys. I didn't even have a camera working last week thanks to my software update. But I think it might have worked out in our favor. We're going to post it tomorrow leading up to next week's show right before the draft. Who do you guys think we should take with our first pick in round 2? So that's going to be up tomorrow for all of you guys to interact with and tell us who you want us to see taking in our first pick in the second round.
And that'll move our discussion about who we think we should take probably to next week as well then. Right?
I think
sounds so. Pretty good.
But I still think we can run down who's being mocked in round 2.
For sure.
I think we can do that.
Let's do it.
Okay, so the big fella that everybody wants to know is who does Mel Kiper Jr. see going? Because he is probably the best known draft expert out there as far as anybody.
I think him and Mike Mayock.
Mike Mayock and Mel Kiper are the two guys. Everybody else kind of falls in the second tier.
Todd McShay.
Yeah.
Yep. Kiper, McShay, they're one of the big duos here. And we got Kiper looking at Florida defensive tackle Caleb Brantley.
I did read an article about this. He said he has him rated as his third-rated defensive tackle, and the only knock that he has was his inconsistency. But when he's playing and he's playing well, he's absolutely crazy disruptive. So that's cool because that is a position of need that we have on our list.
Absolutely. Especially with Sharif Floyd's future being up in the air. And Sharif Floyd was a Florida defensive tackle too, correct?
Was.
Interesting. Todd McShay looked to the interior of the offensive line for Temple guard Dion Dawkins. Now, I'm naming these players off, and I'm going to mess up some names, and I am going to not do very well on this because I have not done a lot of research on many of the prospects at all. So that's my warning out to you guys there. Walter Football has Nico Saragusa, the guard from San Diego State. Charlie Campbell has Dan Feeney, the guard from Indiana. J.R. Reed, the guy that does our draft stuff on the Viking Age, really likes Dan Feeney.
Mr. Feeney! That's the first thing I think of. I'm sorry.
Oh, I don't blame you. That's a name that you've probably heard a lot of times if you grew up in the generation a little bit younger than me. A little bit younger.
I saw that article. I think it was today. I read it. It was nice. I noticed a trend, too, because we'll keep going down the list, but a lot of these, surprise, are offensive linemen. Go figure. But I can't lie to the listeners. I don't know a lot about the linemen or anything like that. Like I said earlier, I'm more focused on what the big name guys the overall top prospects are going to do. I know what the Vikings need. I just don't know who they're going to select where. But some of these names, it's pretty good to get your gears grinding and look these guys up and see whether or not they're worth a second-round pick.
Pro Football Focus has safety Justin Evans from Texas A&M, which is an interesting selection since a lot of people aren't talking about safety as much anymore. I don't know if it's because of the bigger needs at, say, running back, defensive tackle, offensive guard, linebacker, or whatever. But improving next to Harrison Smith could be a really cool idea unless people have they finally bought into Andrew Sendejo, or are they just kind of okay with him being there? I don't know.
I feel like it's more of that there are other pressing needs. I think this got pushed down the priority list a little bit based on need for defensive line and offensive line. And even though we signed Latavius Murray, I still think running back is still a big need. So I think it just got pushed down the priority list.
I wrote kind of a fluffy article over on the Viking Age, and I'll admit it's sort of fluff, but I saw it as being something kind of relevant. Value at the draft position versus reaching for need, and how much of a challenge that can be for an NFL general manager when you're sitting there and you need offensive line depth, but the best offensive lineman available is not even close to the best player available. And
this is something we'll talk about in a little bit. This comes into the drafting the best player available, It's all about the reach. I try to tell everyone that, like some of my female friends who don't know as much about football, well, why don't you just take this guy? Well, it's like overpaying for a car. Like I drive a Jeep Wrangler. It's not the most expensive car in the world. Why would I pay $60,000 for a $20,000 car? You got to think about the draft in forms of, they always use the word currency. If this guy's a third round grade, even though we need an offensive lineman, don't take him.
Especially if there's a player that's more talented that you think could help you more in the long run.
There's a difference. There's a mad scientist formula going from each player and how they're ranked. Obviously, position doesn't matter. They go from overall most talented in the draft. They go all the way down versus your needs. And sometimes just by the universe's choice, those players line up with positions.
Oh, that don't happen often, though.
It's not very often, though. So that's what a lot of people – I don't want to insult any of our guys' intelligence. I'm sure they know how the draft works. But it's just crazy because you'll be guessing, like, why did we take a wide receiver in round 2? We drafted one in round 1 of last year. well, he's the third best receiver in the draft, and he fell 20 spots. We should take him.
Mm-hmm. Well, you also got to remember, too, that, Rick Spielman's job is to not just draft for next season. He's also planning the big picture future of the team. And so sometimes that means drafting a player right now because he's the best available when he might not help you next season, but maybe 3-4 years down the line, you develop him, you have a starter. Kind of like drafting, example would be Jerick McKinnon. Maybe we didn't necessarily need McKinnon, but we knew that Peterson was getting to a point that, hey, he's going to be out eventually, and you have to have his replacement in store. So you also got that to factor in as well, too.
Right. This is exactly like the Alexander from last year. A lot of people are like, why did we draft a cornerback? We've got all these great corners. Well, we didn't know if Terrence Newman was going to return. Captain Mutherland didn't end up coming back. It was preparing for the future. That's exactly what it was. And sure, Mackenzie Alexander didn't have a ton of playing time last year, but the Vikings wanted to be sure that they had some kind of plan in place. Which
I like to think of it, when you do this correctly, you end up with a guy like Danielle Hunter, Brian Robinson. You have
totally.
Everson Griffin on the edges for the D-line. Did we absolutely need an edge rusher? No. But we got a good value and a third-round pick out of him, and he's a monster. And now look at it. Brian Robinson has recently said not this year, but the next year will probably be his last.
Right.
So why not? That's a solid point, Kyle, that you brought up about investing in the future, because look at the price tag you get for this guy too. He was so much cheaper than if you drafted him in the first and the second round.
It depends on the player a lot as well, too, and this is more for the first round as opposed to the second. But, sometimes you have a player that's fell to you, and even if you don't necessarily have a position of need, when the Vikings, to go back to Peterson, we had Chester Taylor. He came off a 1,000-yard season prior. Right. Chester Taylor was looking like a serviceable running back, but Adrian fell to us in the draft. Running back wasn't a position we needed, but you take an Adrian Peterson when you can get him in the draft.
Back then, I was football stupid, and I was mad. I was like, why didn't you take that quarterback from Notre Dame?
Was that the year that Brady Quinn was coming out?
I was mad the Vikings didn't take Brady Quinn.
Brady Quinn fan as well, too. I wanted the Vikings to draft Brady Quinn as well.
Why the hell did they draft a running back? They already got one.
Peterson turned out pretty good overall.
Yeah, that turned out all right. See, that was back when I didn't know better. I'm sorry, guys.
I mean, you can go clear back and you can go the Vikings didn't need Randy Moss when, you had Jake Reed, you had Chris Carter on the team. You didn't need to add another wide receiver to that. But, sometimes it's hey, you can get a guy that you should just draft them. And, you add that talent when you can add them.
I'd like to welcome Dorian Foley here. We are still discussing the second-round draft pick.
What up, Dorian?
Coming in the mock draft. I'll make a quick rundown. Some of these NFL.com's got defensive tackle Malik McDowell from Michigan State, and I love McDowell's. They make some pretty good burgers. They're the home of the Big Mac.
He's the only name on this list besides the guy that I added from Fox Sports that I've actually heard of. So this is it's nice to hear about somebody that I've actually read about for once.
USA Today's got Forrest Lamp, who should be, I don't know. I have a feeling that's a bit of an older selection, unless I'm struggling to see the immediate need for an offensive tackle, unless they're looking at a swing offensive tackle, which Fox Sports has the Vikings trading up for Ryan Ramczyk out of Wisconsin, also an offensive tackle. So who knows?
And that was the one I found just looking around online. I wonder with what we're going to trade up. So that's kind of weird.
Yeah, with what?
They have him going
about that before the show.
They have him going to Denver in most of the drafts at pick 20. So if he falls all the way to 4, would we have 48 overall? That would be nuts.
That would be pretty crazy. CBS Sports has defensive tackle Chris Wormley from Michigan. Bleacher Report safety Marcus May from Florida. NFL Spin Zone from Fanside, it has Ethan Pochik. We'll go with that. He's an interior offensive lineman. And Sports Illustrated also has a center guard, Pat Elfin, which both of those guys are interesting because they play guard and center. And Joe Berger might not be around too much longer, and there's questions as to whether or not the Vikings have a long-term answer at center on the roster and whether or not they're going to test that this season. I think a lot of that will depend on whether or not they can grab a top-tier guard, if the value is there in this draft. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch play out. Draft site has offensive tackle Antonio Garcia. So looking up and down this list, we are not seeing many of the same names anywhere.
No.
It's almost as if
there are consistent positions, consistent positions, but you don't see anyone twice, which is really funny to me.
No, not one name was duplicated on this list from, what is this, like 12 or so? 13, yeah.
13.
Wow.
No names duplicated at all.
I don't know who the player will be, but I think that they are going to look at defensive tackle early. I think if there is one that they feel is a solid pick, I think that's the route they're going to go. There's a big question mark with Sharif Floyd. You look at his injury and the way he's not recovering, unfortunately, from the surgery that he had. I think they're going to look to the draft really, really early to snag defensive tackle. And the second round is a good area to be drafting one. So that's kind of what I am looking to. We had talked, Mr. Smith and I, before we started. I don't necessarily agree with all of the offensive linemen. I think they've done a good enough job of addressing that I don't think that they will go O-line as early as what people are projecting. That's just my opinion on it.
I think us three have a higher opinion of moving Berger to guard to fill that hole than others.
Yes.
See, and I think that's where it comes in. Like Eric Grandal, he wants Dan Feeney or a linebacker to help in coverage, or Budda Baker, which I don't know who Budda Baker is. Like I said, this is a year that I just don't know much at all. It's a fun name to say.
Yeah, very much. It's like Mr. Feeney back there, bringing back my childhood memories. But yeah, it's such a crazy. We don't know where it could go because we don't have the first round selection. Obviously, if we were in the first round and was sitting at 8-8, we'd be sitting around between 14 and 16 at the pick, and there are some good linemen available. We don't have that luxury this year, so honestly, I can't be mad at a defensive lineman, an offensive lineman, a defensive back. I really don't.
I actually, looking at this, I like Pro Football Focus being kind of the odd man out and saying we're going to go with a safety, because that kind of has a Mike Zimmer pick wrote all over it. You know that? Where you look at kind of like what we were talking about prior, you don't really see safety as a position in need, but if there's someone that they feel is that good, let's plug and play someone or get someone for a couple years down the line. I kind of like that a lot.
The Vikings do have some young, interesting safeties, but I don't see any of them as being a long-term answer right now.
Yeah, we have Anderson Dejo has solidified a starting spot because no one else has taken it from him. I really like Anthony Harris.
Jaron Kearse is a very interesting player.
Very interesting up-and-comer, Jaron Kearse. I like Anthony Harris. I think he did well when he was asked to play. Nothing crazy good, but it's one of those where I think we're okay, but okay at best. I don't think we have anyone. I know we don't have anyone to match Harrison Smith's level of play. So why not?
Most teams don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will be really interesting to see how this all pans out, because the second round, you are going to see a lot of the talented players off the board, and there will be some players that fall through the cracks. Even in mid to later rounds, we've seen the Vikings hit home runs in the 4th, 5th rounds. And
Vikings are better at drafting mid-round guys than they are first-round guys.
Sometimes, yeah. Sometimes that's definitely true.
Mm-hmm.
But we are going to be posting up on our Facebook page and I believe our Twitter as well as to who the Vikings should be picking with their second round selection. Let's put another scenario in front of you guys. We all know that Rick Spielman loves getting that 5th-year option on players. So how much do you think the Vikings would have to package together to get back into the end of the first round? And do you think they'd be willing to do that for any player coming up? Because at the beginning of the draft season, many experts were looking at Christian McCaffrey as being the player that could turn things around for the Minnesota Vikings at running back. Since then, McCaffrey has put on a show, and he has pretty much established himself that he's most likely going to be gone in the first round. So if he does end up slipping,
lightning flash behind me just now. Holy shit!
No.
Did you hear that?
Oh yeah, you got some rumbling going on.
Yeah. Oh, that's fun as well too.
So what do you guys think?
I think it's too much to give up. I know that it's fun to say on paper that there will be a huge draft day splash by the Minnesota Vikings, but I'm kind of looking at already what they gave up to get Sam Bradford, which was a necessity. They had to. I'm glad they did it. But I don't think that they're going to be willing to give up even more because, like we had talked about prior, it's also the team's future, and I don't think that Rick Spielman is at the point with this team right now where we are in when, like, we have to win right now. Like, we have a window of opportunity with Sam Bradford and with Teddy Bridgewater and other players on this team where I don't think that you hemorrhage down the line to put all your eggs in the basket right now. Now, if we had, like, a Brett Favre at quarterback where we feel we have to win immediately, sure, why not? But I don't think we're in that position just yet. So I don't see them trading up
but Minnesota's also in a position where they don't have as many immediate holes to fill, and they've got young talent sitting behind some of the starters. So maybe they don't need to cast the wide net like they did in the past, and they can focus on bringing in some of the other kind of higher caliber picks and players to try to fill those needs. So I don't know. To me, this is a draft where if Rick Spielman wanted to gamble, he probably could.
I think he could. I think he could, but I think that if he does make this risk along with what – I'm not saying that Sam Bradford was a risk. I think Sam Bradford was a necessity to even try to be competitive. But I think if he goes for a Christian McCaffrey or someone and jumps back in, I think this will ultimately be his nail in the coffin if it doesn't work out to get him out the door. I absolutely 100% believe that because it's been 50-50 so far with the draft picks that we've had, with the guys that we've spent earlier or draft picks on who aren't a part of the team anymore. And I won't mind because I trust Rick Spielman's judgment. I know even the players that didn't work out might not be working out now, like your Sharif Floyd. Injury you can't predict. I think some stupid picks were made, like Christian Ponder. I think that was a horrible decision, but he was kind of forced to. But if he goes and gambles away some of the future now, I can't see him being here much, maybe past next year if he has another first-round bust, especially gambling away some of our picks.
Especially if Treadwell doesn't emerge.
That's still a huge question mark. That's still a future nail in his coffin, if you ask me, because if he doesn't work out – it's going to be a bad day for Rick Spielman because we haven't drafted a good wide receiver in the first round or second round for that matter. How long?
It's been rough. It has been rough. The Vikings historically.
When did we draft Sidney Rice? Was it first round or second round?
He was not a first rounder.
I think he was a second round player. Let me look really quick.
But we do have
second round of the second round of the 2007 NFL draft.
And he was all right. I believe that, sure, it was a lot of Brett Favre helping to make him big for the 1 year he did and helping him to make that move over to...
If Sidney Rice is not sending Brett Favre a Christmas card every year, he really should be, because all those millions that he made on that contract with the Seahawks was really from... That's I mean... statement. That's the truth.
Sidney Rice had some great hands, though.
He sure did.
If any of you guys have ever Googled that season and listened to Favre talk about him, he said he's pretty much uncoverable. Just let me throw it up to him. And then, of course, Chili was over on the side like, "What, do you guys have the same agent?" Like, no, are you watching the game? Never mind.
Brett Favre ran that team. I don't care. I don't care if Brad Childress was the coach or not. Favre was calling the plays. Favre was running that show. When he's on the field, who was gonna tell him otherwise? How'd we get off on this tangent? But really, who's gonna tell him otherwise?
We got something on here that says Kyle's 5.
Yes, I decided to do a fun new segment every now and then because I like lists, Adam. I think lists are fun. And so listicles are fun. So we will do this, and I don't want to spend a lot of time with each one. But I have 5 future stars under 25 for the Minnesota Vikings because we have a lot of young talent on this team. And I picked 5 guys under 25 that I think we all should be on the lookout for to be future stars on this team. So I'm going to go with number 5. I have Stephon Diggs, who was only 23 years old. He's a young player on this roster. Now, we know that Diggs is any kind of a star, but I'm used to play at the level he's been playing. He will be a breakout superstar in the league. So he's my number 5 pick. 4, I got Danielle Hunter at 22 years old, the defensive end. I know we're all big fans of Danielle Hunter. At 22, he has a bright future in front of this team as well.
So are these guys lower on your list because they're already kind of established a bit, or?
Yes. Okay. Yes, that is correct.
I was trying to figure out how this goes because it's like Hunter and Diggs should be pretty close to the top of this list, but I see how you're looking at it now.
Like 2 stars, and these guys are kind of like we already know that Diggs is a big thing, and same with Danielle Hunter, even though he's a young guy. J-Ron Kearse at number 3 on my list, the safety, and number 23. I like J-Ron Kearse. He is a big guy at 6'4". He's 215 pounds. That is a big guy for a safety. That is like corner size that he's out there with. He has a lot of potential. He has a lot of work to do, and he's going to be a developmental guy, I think, for another couple seasons. But man, if he can live up to his potential, he has a lot of talent for this team. I think you'll like my number 2, Adam. David Morgan. He's the tight end.
Oh yes.
23 years old. I know you're a big fan of David Morgan as well too. I like him. He's also a big guy. He's 6'4", 262.
It's the hair. That's why I like him.
He's got the hair. He's a good blocker. I want to see him develop more as a pass catcher. I know you have a lot of good things to say about him, Adam.
Oh, yes.
And my number one guy on this list, he's only 21 years old. He's the wide receiver, Laquan Treadwell. I know we're saying that he's a bust because he had 1 year that he didn't do anything, but the kid is only 21 years old. He has so much time to get this figured out. It's crazy that he's only 21 and he's playing on. He has all the potential to be everything we need for the Minnesota Vikings. And that is my 5 future stars under 25.
Very interesting. I like it.
Yeah. I know you like David Morgan. You wrote that piece about him. What do you like about him so much, Adam?
When I watched his college tape, I really enjoyed how much of a physical blocker he was, how he never shied away from contact, how he'd lower himself to try to just take a defender out of a play. And then another thing that he did very well at the college level was chip and move out.
Mm-hmm.
And the Vikings haven't been able to use that so much because they've had to use him in the run blocking game last year because the offensive line was not great. So what I see here is you're going to have some 2 tight end sets coming up, and you're going to have Kyle Rudolph running out, and people will assume that David Morgan is there as the blocking tight end who might sneak out. And you know what? I think he will. I think he's going to start picking up a lot more yards, and they're going to line him up every once in a while at fullback, and he'll be able to sneak out there or make some holes. I don't see the Vikings drafting a fullback or picking one up in free agency. I don't see it happening. I don't see the point.
I don't think so. With Peterson gone, there's no point in having a fullback on this roster. And David Morgan can fill that role of a Red Ellison, like you said, where he can do the multiple things in the blocking. And I think he's more talented than a Red Ellison, which is probably why they were able to let Red walk. And with
Red's injury history as well.
Totally. So I'm looking forward to David Morgan. He's a guy that, frankly, not a lot of Vikings fans talk about.
Well, when they look at his receiving numbers, last year he only caught 1 pass for 12 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look at those stats, you think, well, for a tight end, that's nothing. but tight ends contribute in so much more than just receiving yards. I mean, sure, he only had three fewer yards than Laquan Treadwell, but hey, what can you do?
Everyone gets so caught up because everyone covets the Rob Gronkowski model of tight end. You know, the big pass-catching, flashy tight end. That's what everyone
Gronk's not bad either, because Gronk is a capable and willing blocker as well. It's where you have the tight ends like Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham is not a good blocker. And I think that's part of the reason why teams kind of have shied away from going towards the pass-catching tight end, because they can't be complete players. And although David Morgan isn't going to be an elite pass-catching tight end, he's very capable and very sneaky out of the backfield. And I think that he could fill a role very well that way. He's never going to be putting up Gronk numbers, but he'll be a solid player for many years.
Mm-hmm. Sneaky yardage. You know, that's an interesting thing to look about. You know, with Sam Bradford as your quarterback, I think when you say like sneaky yardage, is kind of an important stat for him too, because you know that he's going to get completions, and that makes guys like David Morgan important to have on the roster, because who the hell is game planning for David Morgan? You're not, but he's going to be open, and they're going to be there to take advantage of, and getting the first downs and moving the chains are going to be really super important.
Well, let's talk for a second about that, because you've got Diggs and Thielen, who both nearly had 1,000-yard seasons.
Yes.
You've got Kyle Rudolph, who I believe had double-digit touchdown receptions. Those guys need attention. They will be covered. So then you've got, a possible David Morgan. And in the backfield, you've got Latavius Murray, who's also a capable blocker and a receiver out of the backfield. This is just...
We don't know what we have in Laquan Treadwell either.
This is an amazing group of weapons the Vikings have assembled to go with a guy who broke an NFL record for completion percentage last year behind an offensive line that was in shambles.
29th.
And he was able to take that offensive line, and he made plays down the field. This is going to be amazing to watch this year. I'm excited about that.
I know. It's the time of year where every fan, the fans in Cleveland are saying the same thing right now. Maybe not Cleveland, Jacksonville fans right now, where they're like you're super excited for the potential of your team. But I feel it too, Adam, where there's a lot going on for the Minnesota Vikings, and fans should be excited. We were decimated with injuries last year. It's almost not even fair to look at what the Vikings had to deal with, but that's football. You go on, you continue to go on. And they won more games than they should have. They're coming back healthy and stronger in a while. I'm excited for this team.
Absolutely. And we got a bold statement.
All right. So I get to prop up Adam's website with this one, because one of his writers wrote an article about this. This is going to be unpopular opinion when you hear it at first, and that's fine. You can tell me that you hate me all day long. As long as you interact with us, let me know on the Facebook, on the Twitter page, anything you want. But let's talk about drafting a quarterback and holding off on Teddy Bridgewater's fifth-year option. I am all right at any point in this draft that the Vikings scouting department, GM, and coach say, we need this quarterback in our life and on our team. I don't care where it comes. I would like for it to be in the later rounds, but if say a potential guy falls, maybe we take him third round. I'm okay with that. I trust the Vikings scouting department and Rick Spielman and their judgment. And with that being said, I don't think that the Vikings should pick up Teddy Bridgewater's fifth-year option. Now, all of you are reaching for the closest sharp object to throw at me. Hear me out for this, because we don't know if Teddy's going to play again. And I hope he does. I really think that he will, based off of what we've seen. But until he proves that he will be back in a uniform and proves that he can play at the level he was at or better, where we thought he was about to go, I think it's a wise decision business-wise for us to hold off on that. Maybe we get him cheaper and give him a one-year prove-it deal. See if he can come in and compete and beat Sam Bradford out. I don't think that he could do that, but I know if there's anyone that we all want to be in the system, especially as a backup, he's more than a capable backup. I mean, he was on the team that won a division title a season removed from last year. So I get it. A lot of people won't like that I'm saying that. I'm not turning my back on Teddy. I love Teddy. I'm one of the biggest supporters you'll meet. But this is definitely something that even almost a year later, like, we still have a question about. So if the Vikings want to draft a quarterback this year and hold off on retaining Teddy Bridgewater for the 5th-year option, I'm totally 100% for that.
I don't see Minnesota drafting a quarterback, but I don't see them hurrying Bridgewater in either. I think that they did a good job going out and picking up Case Keenum to act as the backup. You got Bradford in there as a starter. I like Heineke as a QB3.
I'm not expecting them to draft one either. I wouldn't be upset if they did.
No, I'd understand the move.
I totally get it from the business side. I wouldn't be upset about it, but yeah, I think we have more than a lot of people too. Let's talk about really quick. Let's take a minute and talk about this Case Keenum signing. Why every week does Vikings fandom and Vikings Twitter world just say stupid crap? You guys, we're better than that. Don't hate on the guy. I can't understand it. Well, he sucks. Well, he's not going to be the starter. So what do you? We're not bringing the guy in to replace Sam Bradford. Just calm down. We need someone in case Bradford goes down, that we have somebody that's not 40 years old like Sean Hill. I'm okay with the roster that we have, and I know that they're going to draft really, really awesome players here coming up next weekend. But this is another thing I could just do a whole segment on.
But there are some good people on social media. We had a correction come in that Scott Crichton failed his physical, and he is currently a free agent again.
Oh, there you go.
So there's some good information, good folks out there, and good stuff all around. I want to take a moment to thank the 5 extra people who subscribed to us on YouTube. Always good. Oh, I like breaking news.
Breaking news. Vikings coach Mike Zimmer and wide receiver Adam Thielen announced as participants in Lake Tahoe Celebrity Golf Tournament.
Ooh, golf.
Breaking golf news on the Purple People podcast.
Mike Zimmer likes golf, and Adam Thielen.
Adam Thielen loves golf. Mm-hmm. If you have not watched it, you've got to watch that video.
With him and Cordero?
With him taking Cordero Patterson to the golf store to get clubs and trying out the virtual range. It's amazing.
Entertainment for days.
It is. It's absolutely amazing. But yeah, we had 5 extra subscribers on the YouTube channel this week. And although it's only 5 people, hey, 5 people is great. If we can keep growing, tell your friends. I know that we're not the flashy podcast out there with a ton of guests, but we're football information. We're football discussing groups. And we'd love to keep talking football with you guys and your friends and just grow a nice football community. That's what we want.
Mm-hmm.
We're here to talk football. I do want to point you guys over to the Viking Age, where I do a majority of my work. We got the schedules coming out tomorrow, so we'll have those posted up. My team will be covering the draft as well as possible because I will be in Milwaukee watching Ring of Honor wrestling.
Wrestling.
I like Ring of Honor wrestling. So my favorite teams are going to be there. The Motor City Machine Guns. Oh, I'm a big fan of them. The Addiction. If you follow wrestling and you don't know who Christopher Daniels is, it's time to pull up some stuff. There are Alex Shelley. Those are 2 of my favorites, and they're both on the same card. Amazing.
You lucked out.
Pretty exciting stuff.
I did. I lucked out in a big way. Over on Undead Walking, I got some cool stuff going on too. Next week, I will be live streaming once again for The Walking Dead, A New Frontier. This will be episode 4, Thicker Than Water. I'll be live streaming it. You can join in the chat and watch me make some horrible decisions and make people die that probably shouldn't.
That's the best way to play those games.
When I played Skyrim, the first thing I did was jump off a cliff.
Yeah.
You just have to do it. You have to. I don't know what it is, but you got to test it out and be like, okay, let's see what we got here.
I forget who the character was, but it was in the first season of the Walking Dead Telltale game. I could not wait to murder the guy.
It had to be Larry. I hated Larry.
I think, please let me murder this guy. I did every
and then put you in a situation where you're holding the salt block over his head, and you have to decide whether to crush his head or not. And it's like, oh man, I really want to crush that guy's head.
That was not a decision for me. I'm like, crush. Go for it.
Oh, so much fun. But we got Fear the Walking Dead coming up too pretty soon here, so I'm going to start hyping that. There's a lot. I know that it's the off season for the Walking Dead, but there's really never an off season because the comic books are always going. We got games. We got Fallout from season 7 of The Walking Dead. We have previews for Fear the Walking Dead. It's all going to be just happening again, so it's great stuff. Do you guys got anything you want to plug before we go?
I got nothing going on, man. I'm going to be a daddy here soon, so I'm really excited about that.
That is pretty awesome.
Should be within the next 3 weeks. But other than that, I don't have much going on. Just training some dogs down here in El Paso. So you guys check out Adam's work. Kyle, what do you got going on? I know you got something going on.
Yeah, you got some photography stuff going on, right?
Really
some reclamation projects?
You can check out some of my stupid writing blog work over at attackoftheblog.net. That is my stupid stuff. You can check it out. That's my plug for the week.
Don't you have some photos of some reclamation projects for your other place of employment?
Yeah, I do got some stuff going on for that I can't talk about right now.
I like it. Keeping it secret.
Because I can't until it's over, and then I can be like, hey, go check this out. It's really cool.
Because I've been seeing some of the work he's been doing on some of his stuff, and there's some pretty cool things going on over there. Pretty cool things. On that note, like I said, please head on over to YouTube and subscribe if you don't. If you're listening to us on iTunes, PodOMatic, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or wherever, just head on over to Purple People Podcast on YouTube and give us a follow. We'd greatly appreciate it because we really want to use that YouTube Live, and we don't want to buy YouTube subscribers because we're not jerks.
Oh, that's tacky.
We're not jerks like that. That and yeah, we're poor. I would rather spend my money buying prizes for tournaments for you guys than buying subscribers for a YouTube channel.
It feels like cheating.
Boo to cheaters. On that note, I guess that's all we have. So I'd like to thank everyone for coming and joining us. I know that we didn't have a huge crowd in the live chat today, but we still appreciate you guys coming by, stopping by, eating your wings, joining the chat, all good stuff.
Potentially sending us chicken wings.
Maybe. But we haven't named any companies, so we're not going to get any sponsors. I mean, we didn't land Taco Bell, so.
Not yet. I never have the quitting attitude. It'll happen one day.
But thanks again, everyone, for listening. And remember to stay classy, Minnesota.